Yo, what's going on, Push Peeps? Video number 31 for you today. This one is on the subject of Japanese immigration in the 1800s. But first, a shout out to Mr. Picconi's class in San Marino, California. Good luck on your APs this May. And I think you guys will do great. Now, true, in the 8-push course, there's much talk about immigration in the 1800s, mostly from various regions of Europe and China. There's also Japanese immigration to the U.S. in 1800s, and you might be tested on it. Alright. Let's start off talking about a little bit of background. In other words, what was it like in Japan in the late 1800s? And the answer to that is that Japan in this time period had gone through a lot of change. After being opened up from isolation by the U.S. as the result of the Matthew Perry expedition, the Japanese during something called the Meiji Restoration turned Japan from a primary agricultural and subsistence-based economy to a fully industrialized Western power in the span of about 40 years. And as a result, many Japanese whose parents and grandparents had been farmers their whole lives had to adapt to this newly industrialized society. This put many Japanese out of work and looking for better prospects. Hawaii, not part of the U.S. at the time, was a very attractive destination for many Japanese. Not only was Hawaii geographically close to their homeland, it also provided a similar work to what the Japanese were used to, that is, primarily agricultural work growing sugarcane and pineapple. To understand why the Japanese emigrated from Hawaii to the U.S., one must understand what was going on in the U.S. during this time. During the late 1800s, many Chinese were immigrating to the West Coast to find work in mines, farms, and railroads. The Chinese came in large numbers, and as a result, this caused a surge in nativism and racism in the West, and especially California and San Francisco. The culmination of the nativist sentiment against the Chinese was the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. This forbade any more Chinese from coming to the U.S. and created a demand for cheap labor in the growing industries of the West. Some Japanese saw an opportunity to leave the harsh working conditions of Hawaii and create a better life in the U.S. However, despite the opportunity to replace the Chinese, the Japanese numbered less than 25,000 by 1900. The first generation of Japanese were known as the Issei, and they settled mainly in the Pacific Northwest and worked in farms, lumber mills, and fisheries where there were greater economic opportunities. Even though the Japanese made up only a small fraction of the entire American population, they were still discriminated against and were forbidden to own land that many of them worked on, along with experiencing daily racism. The second generation of these Japanese were known as Nisei. They were born as U.S. citizens, and they were immersed in two cultures, the traditional Japanese culture at home and the multi-ethnic American culture they experienced at school. The children of these Japanese immigrants were more likely to speak English than the Japanese, and were more likely to prefer American styles of food, music, and entertainment. To add on to that, rather than identifying themselves as Japanese immigrants in America, they saw themselves as Japanese Americans. So, to summarize, some Japanese were pushed out of Japan because of industrialized, resulting in many farmers being displaced and out of work. In the U.S. during this period, the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 created a demand for cheap labor in the United States, particularly in the Pacific Northwest and California. Note that the Japanese began to fill this demand for cheap labor, but not in any large numbers during the 1800s. Most actually immigrated to the independent Kingdom of Hawaii. Also, know that the first generation of Japanese were Issei, and the second generation were known as Nisei, who were more Americanized than their parents. Thanks for watching, and best of luck, and always have a good day.